and it's really fun. So if I'm driving somewhere, I'll just sing at the top of my lungs and start grooving along. Of course, making sure that I'm still driving safely, of course. But that is super fun. So some Depeche Mode, some Yaz, some Erasure. I also like some ABBA, but let's see, how did we do here? Yep, we did great on both sides. Let us do our last side of our inner border. Are you making it along with us? If you are, we love, love, love seeing all of your pictures along the way. Feel free to adapt this for any size panel. If you're making a small wall hanging, you could also use this to frame out some smaller squares to make pillow shams. That would work. You can use it to frame out your quilt blocks and make a small wall hanging. Always making sure, even if you're trying to rush, you don't want to stitch over those pins. Stitching over pins, if they break and your needle pops, it could hurt you and it can hurt your machine. And you know, our sewing machines are our little babies, and we want to take care of our little babies, and we want to make sure that they can service us well and last a long time, and we don't want them to conk out, especially when we're in the middle of a big sewing event. So take the time and take your needles out, or take your pins out. I know when I started sewing, I thought I could outsmart it, and I stitched over pins all the time. And I also made sure that I only changed my needle in my machine if it broke. Oh my goodness. So you want to change your machine needles a little bit more often than that. Okay, so let's look at this. I'm so excited. Dun 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 dun. Yay, we're getting there. We're getting there. I think it's time for a little dance break. What do you think? Dun, 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 da, 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 da. So you gotta stretch, gotta roll the neck, roll your shoulders. Always gotta take time to just stretch a little bit while you're sewing, right? Especially when you're sitting down. I'm not gonna make you touch your toes, okay? And maybe it's time for a sip of water. Okay, I know you might have something else in your mug right now, but also make sure to drink your water. Stay hydrated. All right, so we're going to press it out, and then we're going to work on measuring our final borders and then putting our final borders on. How does that sound? Woot, woot. Okay. So we are going to press this out again. I love how this looks. Oh, it's so fun. So this little line of green, so Kim Schaefer came out with some kind of basic-y things to go along with her holiday fabrics. And this green is one of them. And I just love how bright and vibrant it is. And it doesn't scream Christmas at all. It is a really fun fabric. It actually is kind of springy to me, but I love the texture and the little stripes in here. Oh, and I wasn't good here, and I left my little guys. Remember I said we should clean up along the way? All right, we should do that. Make sure to not clip your borders while you're doing that. I almost nipped it trying to be too quick. That'd be bad. So that trick worked out really great, how we came in just a titch past that white. So we see a little bit of color, and we have every single element of our printed items here in our convenience panel, which is super fun. And our little kind of pseudo fussy cut little peppermints turned out really nice. I love that. Okay, we're just going to trim this here. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so we need to measure now, right? Okay, we're going to measure to make sure our measurements came out right. Oh, I'm nervous. Are you nervous? We shouldn't be nervous. Okay, so we folded this in half. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. And it is 20, it's 13 and a half. So 13 and a half is 27, just what we said. Yay! Woot, 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 woot. Okay, then we're going to take it and fold it in half this way. Okay. And this is to the 23, which 23 times 2 is 46. Yay! We're doing the happy dance because we got the math right. Woot, woot. All right. You're going to think I'm crazy for dancing. So now we're going to cut the length of our borders, put our cornerstones on, and then put on our final borders. Okay. So let us do that. Okay. So let us come and cut the length of that 27 and 46, right? So we have our 6.5 inch strips here that we cut, right? So we can leave it folded because we're convenience cutting here. If we had wanted to, we could eke it a little bit more efficiently. So 46 divided by 2 is 23. So we are going to measure down, line it up on the 23. And we're going to cut. Have this little bit left over. Make sure you have it on the fold side, right? Otherwise, you're going to be sad. You're going to say, Julie, what did we do? And I'm going to say, wait, you have that little bit extra fabric that you can use. So if you did do that, you do have that extra piece of fabric that we had left over. And then we're going to have the 27. So this is 13 and a half. And if this made you more comfortable, I guess this is almost there. So let's leave a little bit more of this, okay? Okay, so I folded it down about 15 inches. So we're going to go 13 and a half. Okay. 13 and a half. Make sure to not shift after it's in place. Straight cut. And you have this left over. Okay. So we are going to attach our cornerstones to our short pieces, and then we'll put our long pieces on our side and our final border top and bottom. Okay, so I am, with these little bit larger cornerstones, I'm going to pin them just twice, top and bottom. I know pinning's not fun, but we only want to do it once. We want to have to use our seam ripper as little as possible, right? Sounds like a good plan to me. Okay, so here we go. Oh, that was a little quick one. Let's do this side here. couple pinning. I always say, you know, a couple minutes of prep work can save a lot longer of agony, right? And this is supposed to be fun, and we want to make it as fun as possible, okay? Flip this around. Put this on this side. So these are squares. This particular fabric that we chose, I didn't notice any directionality or anything in it of how we cut it. What could also be fun is that if you chose a solid piece of fabric and did something like some applique, some craziness in the cornerstone. That could be fun if you enjoy appliquing and other artful fun things. Okay, here we go. Now remember, all of these things are over on our YouTube channel if you are watching this on Facebook. I'm just going to plug us back in here so that we don't lose any power. All right. And once again, we're going to sew all 4 at the same time. I mean, well, after each other. I'm going to line this up here. Make sure that's fed through. So remember, we're not back tacking as we start these little guys here. Going to do this other bottom half, right? Okay, so this is the second part. This is the bottom part of our same strip that we've just brought around. No need to trim our thread. We can just chain piece these. So chain piece wherever possible. Give that machine the least opportunities to end up with a nest in your bobbin. And pausing for those pins. You can see that we placed the smaller squares on top. So just out of the habit that our small pieces are on the top side. All right, we're coming to an end here. Yay! Now, which way do you think we're going to press these? We are going to press them. How are we going to do it? To that way, right? Okay, so we're going to trim all of our threads here. We can just use the edge of the machine if you wanted to. If you have a thread cutter built in, can make life a little easier there. I'm going to clean up my pins here. Let's hop back over and let's press these guys. I think we need some chocolate. What do you think? Yeah, let's have some chocolate. I didn't bring any chocolate. Oh, man. Hopefully you have some chocolate in your sewing room. Okay, so we're going that way, right? Letting that lay down. And we're going to repeat on this side. And we're going this way so that when we attach the side borders, we can go out. And we'll have less bulk. And then when we put the top and bottom on, they will nest super nice. Okay, cool. Da-da-da, that is done. Now it is time to pin on our side borders. How does that sound? Side, side, top and bottom. Side, side, top, bottom. Okay, so we have this ready to go. I'm so excited. It's almost coming together. Okay, so take a wild guess. What are we going to do? We are going to fold this in half. Okay, finger press. Okay, that nice crease, and open up. Then we're going to take this guy here, fold them in half, finger press, and line it up, right? Okay. Now, if I were a smarter person, you know what we can do? We're going to finger press it, but sometimes our eyes play a trick on us. So let's put a little pin there. How does that sound? Ha! Okay. And I know you're saying, Julie, your eyes aren't supposed to be playing a trick on you. And I will say, my eyes are older than they look. Okay, there we go. And then we'll match our pins. Okay, there we go. I went to the eye doctor not too long ago, and my ophthalmologist, he's like, yeah, you know, we're wearing masks, and he said, "Oh, you have wild hair." And I'm laughing because today I feel like I have wild hair. Yeah, I was playing in the other day. I braided my hair. Just kind of a quick braid into the top of my hair. And we were watching TV and Frank looked at me and he said, "Has that been in your hair all day? Did you go to work like that?" I really wanted to say yeah. And I'm like, no, I just did that while we're sitting here watching TV. It's kind of funny. All right, so we're pinning this on and then we're going to pin our other side on at the same time. See, you never know what you're going to find out here. Never ever. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Time for the other side. We're going to fold, and what are we going to do right away? We're going to put a pin in it. Yay! So that we don't lose it. Okay. So you'll have to let us know. Most of our projects that we do are more demo rather than being real time like this. And I didn't know with the combination this weekend, we thought that we'd play with some real time and some demo time. Let us know what you think. If you want to see more real time things like this, or if you prefer to have things in a more condensed demo type format. I know sometimes it can just be fun having somebody on in the background. I like cooking, and so I've been watching a lot of Jacques Pepin. He has this really cool new format that's on Facebook actually, and he has snippets almost every day. And everything from elaborate things to even just cutting techniques. And so, you know, improving how I cut potatoes. Just learning all the time, and it's really fun. Especially that I'm cooking a lot more now. And so I want to have a little bit of fun with it. Let's see, how does this match up on the other end? Yeah, I didn't. So this, I had a little bit of a bulge here, so we're going to let this out because I didn't pin it nice. So it matches on the other end. So you want to gauge it, like if it doesn't feel right, check it, okay? Yeah, now that's good. Because the worst thing that could happen is that you get all the way done and that you end up like sewing in a pleat or something because you said, well, Julie said I had to do it this way. Well, you know, always, if something doesn't seem right, you know, it could have been that you pinched it wrong because we were, you know, just kind of quick pinching it. So. Okay. Now we are ready to hit the sewing machine. All right, let's head on back over, and we have 4 more seams to go. Woot, woot. Okay, so we have, let's get our pin cushion all set up here. And I always like to make sure that the underneath seam is going the right way. So I pause just to make sure it's going there. Now when you're sewing, you're probably sitting, I'm standing here. And so you see here how the weight, you want to make sure that the weight as your piece gets bigger and bigger doesn't drag down on your machine. Because if it drags down, what it can do is it makes it easier to not sew in a straight 1/4 inch. So we want to set you up for success, so try to put your weight on a table. I had a pretty big gap here between my needles, or between my pins. So I'm just making sure that everything's aligned nice here as we go along. You can see I'm not pinned like every 2 inches. It's probably about every 5 or 6 is my goal to help keep everything in line. If we had to worry about lining up more seams, I might pin a little bit heavier. But it really helps keeping everything flat and lined up. I want to help you achieve success and have nice flat borders. It's always way more fun when things turn out as you want them to. Okay, coming to the home stretch here. I'm just going to make sure that I'm laying in the right position down here. Yes, this is coming up just how I want it to be. Okay. There we go. And then we're going to repeat on the other side. Three more to go. 3 more to go. All right, so we're just humming along here. If you want to go faster on your seams, you can absolutely go faster. But just know that even Julie doesn't speed through these long borders. And go for a little bit, and then we pause and pull that needle, pull the pin out. Repositioning here. When I reposition, I always like my needle in the down position when possible. That helps just keep everything aligned. And you can also see that I leave my presser foot down. So I'm trying to have the machine act as an extra set of hands for me. And I'm just gently moving it. I'm not really tugging at it. And as I let the machine do the work here, okay? So I'm not pulling it from behind, I'm not pushing it through, I'm just guiding it, and I'm having my right hand just sort of hold the course to help guide. Dun, 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 dun. I'm so excited. All right. All right. Are we ready to look at it? Let's see. Let's see. It's coming together. Da, 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 da. Okay, let's go ahead and we're going to press out our border, and then we're going to put on our top and bottom, and then we're done. Yay! So, let us come down, and how are we going to press it again? We're going to be pushing it out, right? Pushing it out, just like we did our little border. So it is so fun because this fabric design actually comes from some of Kim's earlier patterns. So at the end of this, I am going to show you the pattern that it came from, as well as a fun other project that we'll be working on later in the weekend with it. Gotta watch your cord here. I'm not very ergonomically set up here. All right, I got this guy here. Now when I'm pressing this, I don't know if you can see it, the red turns a slightly darker color just when the heat hits it. But don't worry, the color goes back as you had seen it before. You aren't ruining anything. It is some technical chemical issue. I should learn all about that. I don't know if it's REET, maybe? I don't know if anybody's watching and knows anything more specific about dyes and chemical properties and all of that. Okay, so now we have this all lined up and just the top and bottom borders that we're going to put on. And I bet you're never going to guess what it is that we're going to do now. We are going to pin our borders on. Yes, we are. So we are going to line up the intersection here. You are going to be such a pro at borders. I know sometimes I talk to my sister. So my sister quilts, my sister Kathy, she lives really close to me. And sometimes we're working on projects and, you know, it's kind of interesting because she doesn't take a lot of my classes because, you know, that's sometimes kind of weird. And so sometimes we'll talk about stuff and she's, you know, afraid to ask questions and things like that. And she's like, oh, yeah, pinning, like pinning the board, like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But sometimes we think that it's an unnecessary step or something. But we just want to make sure that even on a simple panel quilt like this, that we're set up for success. So I always like to pin the borders no matter how simple the project is. Okay, that one's pinned. One more to pin and then 2 more seams to sew. I don't have to worry about directionality of this. If we were working on like that panel behind me, those border prints, we'd have to pay attention with how we put them on, making sure that our gnomes were facing the right way. But something like this that has no directionality is the easiest to work with. Intersection and intersection, and then piecing in between, or pinning in between. The end. And I just lightly hold it up. And position that, just glide that needle through. Or I keep calling it a needle. Put the pin through. You want to make sure, just like needles, pin and rotary blades, pins don't last forever. So I just opened up before this weekend a new batch of pins for our downstairs studio. You know, depending on how you use the pins. I think my pins at home lasted a couple years. And so just treat yourself. You're worth it. Let us sew these last 2 borders. All right. I am going to, before we get started, I just want to make sure that this weight is off the table here. Okay. I have the little video console right next to my machine here, which is a little interesting for my sewing space. So I always recommend for you at home that you have nice clear space, as much space possible to the left of your sewing machine, so that the weight of your piecing can be on the side of your machine. And we're making sure that when I put my finger underneath, I just wanted to make sure that that was going in the right direction. And it was laying perfectly in the right direction. If you were making a bunch of these for gifts, you could absolutely even chain piece the steps of the panels and, you know, make, I don't know, 2 or 4 of these at the same time. And honestly, it would not take that much more time because, you know, this time at the sewing machine goes so quick. It's the prep time that takes a little bit more time for us. But if we're prepping it, you know, in sort of assembly line manner, things go a little quicker. So if you were cranking out a few of these for gifts, I would absolutely make them multiples at a time, even if they were different fabrics, as long as it wasn't too confusing for you. But that way, you know, using even the same pattern would be a nice option because that way you don't have to think about it, you just do it. That 2.5 and 6.5. Okay, 1 more seam, 1 more seam, 1 more seam. All right. I'm so happy my bobbin has lasted during this video. Oh, wait, maybe I jinxed it. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. Oh, I still have plenty of bobbin. Okay. Slow and steady wins the race. So I'm so excited to show you the modern holiday pattern that inspired this fabric line. This particular tree pattern is available in a few different colorways and works great for just a standalone project. And there's also a bunch of really cool coordinates. I just saw Kim has an owl line coming this spring. That should be super fun. So in the non-holiday world, we now have her chicken the coop line. So there's some really nice chickens, and then there's some eggs and some chicken wire and chicken tracks. The chicken wire and chicken tracks are turning into basics this spring, so that's fun. Those tracks are just a nice alternative, you know, as a fun little print, little ditzy kind of print. Dun 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 dun. Okay, are we ready for the unveiling? Woohoo! 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 Look at this! Isn't this fun? So you can see we have our peppermint, and then our peppermints all the way through. Super fun, super fun. So I'll give it a final press before I take it to have it quilted. You will use your striped fabric. You're going to cut 6 2.5 strips of fabric that you will then piece together and press over to turn into your binding. Let's look at the pattern that inspired this fabric line. The pattern that inspired this fabric line is Modern Holiday, and you can see here the super fun trees that are very graphic and modern. We have in this pattern a table runner, a wall hanging, and a fun tree skirt. We loved this fabric line so much that we put together a 2.5-inch 20-pack strip set. You can see that here. Let me pull it back so you can see it. It's super fun. There are 2 each of 10 different fabrics, and if you got 2 packs, you would have 40 strips. We are going to be showing you in our tree skirt segment, we're going to be showing you how to prepare these wedges to have an 8-wedge pieced tree skirt. So I'd like to thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you had lots of fun. Leave us your feedback. If you liked this, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and I can't wait to see you soon. Happy quilting!